right, we will go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Charlotte, and I'm a programs manager at Junior Achievement. And then my colleagues Kim and Cynthia are also with us today. And we are so excited for this JA Job Shadow with Workshop Digital. We are lucky to have Andrew Miller here with us today. Andrew is the co-founder and VP of Strategy at Workshop Digital. And so Andrew and his colleague Brian Forrester are the people who took an idea and made it into a very successful digital marketing agency. So you all are going to get a behind the scenes look at who works at Workshop Digital, what it's like to work there, what they look for in potential employees. Plus, Andrew is going to share some advice and tips he's learned along his journey in case you're interested in one day becoming an entrepreneur as well. So we are super excited and hope that you all are too. I have just a few quick announcements before we get going. Please turn on your camera if you can. We love to see your beautiful faces if that's a possibility for you. Andrew might ask for some feedback or answers in the chat box, so feel free to type your answers in there. That's available. And then we know that you all have been given some informational interview questions. So we have a full 15 minutes for those at the end of the presentation. So if you think of any other questions during the presentation, please jot those down. Feel free to put them in the chat, and then we'll go over those at the end. We will be recording this presentation, so if you enjoyed it, you can rewatch it, you can share it with a friend, and that recording will be sent out within 1 to 3 days after the presentation. And then the very last thing before we get started is I want all the students that we have with us today, or if we have any teachers with us whose students might be interested, to use the reactions feature to share an emoji if you would like to win $2,500. So it could be the thumbs up, the heart, whatever it is, but if $2,500 seems interesting to you, please share a reaction. Okay, great. Reason being, if there are any sophomores or juniors with us today, you are eligible to apply for our JA Future Laureate Scholarship since you're participating in this Job Shadow event. So we are going to send all your teachers information about this afterwards, so please apply if you're interested, and you are eligible for that $2,500 scholarship. All right, that's everything I have, so I'll go ahead and hand it over to Andrew.
Thanks, Charlotte. Can I raise my hand for the scholarship entry? I don't think I'm eligible, but y'all go get that scholarship. That's easy money, and thanks to Junior Achievement for being generous and making that a possibility. Well, I'm glad to be here. I'm going to share my screen in a moment and walk you through kind of a quick little journey about how Workshop Digital came to be, and really put to rest Charlotte's assumption that we actually had a plan and we knew what we were doing as we were building Workshop Digital. You will see throughout this, we did not. We do now, but the fun part of today's journey is, I believe I counted up, I think I have more pictures than words in this presentation, so it's going to be more visual, less talking, and I hope this gives you an idea of what it's like to work in a digital marketing agency here in Richmond. So welcome to Workshop Digital. You can see behind me, I think you can see behind me, my currently empty office. We're in Richmond, Scott's Addition area. If you know Richmond, we're just like 4 blocks south of the Diamond off of Boulevard. So we are right in the middle of where all the new construction's happening. Hope they don't put in a casino 2 doors down from us, but that seems like it's more and more likely every day. But like, we're in like the hustle and bustle of Richmond, and we love it. We're a Richmond-born company. We love serving the community. We love partnering with Junior Achievement and getting out and bringing more people into our office. So if this was in the before times, hopefully a lot of y'all would actually be here today and you could see this for yourself. I will leave an open invitation that after things open up a bit and when it's safe to do so and y'all can travel and do field trips and stuff, we'd love to have you in and see it in person. So we'll do this again. The mission we're on today is not necessarily to convince everybody here that you want to go to work for yourself someday or start your own company, but just out of curiosity, because I love to ask this question with every group that I talk to, if you have the raise your hand function in Zoom, give me a quick high five, thumbs up, raise hand if the idea of working for yourself someday has ever crossed your mind. There's no right or wrong answer and no judgment, but I'm just always curious to hear like how pervasive this idea of being an entrepreneur is these days, and what I've learned to help you down that path. That's awesome. That's a lot of people, which is really, really cool, and I appreciate that. What I will say through all of this, that kind of the big like asterisk next to all of this is, there's no right time, there's no perfect day. Like, don't don't feel like you have to do it right out of school. Don't feel like you have to go out and raise a bunch of money. Like there's a lot of ways to become self-employed, and they don't involve Shark Tank, and they don't involve like Silicon Valley type venture capital. You can do startups, you can do small businesses, you can be successful working for yourself, whether you're a company of one person or like us, we're about 30 people now. So just wanted to give you that shout out that it's a very viable career path, but it's not the only career path. And it's something that once it grabs hold of you, everybody I talk to that's self-employed, once you kind of get bit by that entrepreneurial bug, it's hard to let go. So just be careful, be warned. All right, let's go on. Here's my journey. This was something my mom sent to me about 10 years ago when I moved to Richmond, bought my first house, and she was finally ready to get rid of boxes of junk, my junk, out of her attic. This was in the bottom of one of those boxes, and she had written down in spring of 1987. I was 6 years old, so I must have been like about first grade. This stuck out to me. This was funny. This was actually, I didn't know I had it at the time, my first business plan, right? And you can't read my chicken scratch, and you still probably couldn't today, but it says bookstore plans. Step 1, get toys that I sell. Step 2, make sign. That's the marketing part of it. Step 3, sell toys. Step 4, get money. Step 5, put money in bank. And step 6, bring money on trip. And I think if I had to like summarize like where I am in this journey right now, even though we don't have a business plan that looks like this, I am definitely somewhere in, where'd we go? There we go. In between step 3 and step 4. Like we're at the point where we're selling toys and we're starting to get money. We're growing a business, we're hiring people. Turns out there's a lot of steps between steps 2 and steps 6. But this I think is like where most people start, and thinking that, you know, it's just a simple 6-step process. There are a lot of people online that will try to sell you a 6-step process to build a business. And, you know, all of those are good to learn from, not necessarily going to work for everybody. So my recommendation is don't sell books. Jeff Bezos ripped off my idea. Now we got Amazon. So just saying, you can go find your own idea. All right, what is Workshop Digital? We're a digital marketing agency. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, but really we're a group of cool people. We like to do fun things. When we're not working, we're taking our team out to do fun events like blacksmithing. We learned how to do that over here in Scouts Edition. There's a cool place you can go throw stuff in a hot furnace, come out and hit it with a hammer until you get all your frustration and anxiety out, and then go back to work. We do, you know, golf charity sponsorships. We have our own pickle contests. We just do fun, quirky stuff, right? We go volunteer at Shalom Farms and all over town, JA, and we win awards for our culture. So we bring home a lot of hardware for like having a great place to work. And that's important to us, not because our trophy shelf matters to anybody, but because it says that we're doing the right things, and our employees and our peers and our clients vote us as a great place to work and a great company to do business with. And that's more of a success signal for us than being the biggest company in our space or in Richmond, right? We'd rather be the best. And in fact, our purpose of building Workshop Digital is to build a better agency. And so our sole reason for existence, the filter that we pass all of our decisions through is this helping us become a better agency? Or when we are asking ourselves, like, what should we do in a particular situation? We're always asking, like, how can we do it better? Like, what's the best outcome? There's not always a right or wrong answer. It's not always black and white. There's a lot of gray, but we're looking for the best outcome continually and challenging ourselves to figure out a better way to do things over and over again. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this shortly. But this is us. This is our team. We're a happy bunch, and I can't wait to get everybody back together again. A little bit about my background. I don't take myself too seriously. I like, when I'm not at work, like I like to run races. I like to bike. I was a tiger once in a Siegfried and Roy show in Halloween. All this to say, I didn't have a plan. Even my little 6-step bookstore plan, toy store plan, was not a business plan that even remotely resembles what we have here at Workshop today. I got into Workshop Digital in partnership with my friend Brian, simply by kind of like stumbling from opportunity to opportunity through college, and then after college had a few jobs here in Richmond. I worked at the Martin Agency and CarMax, both in marketing roles. Not really ever intending to build a business, not intending to grow a business, but I kept answering the same question over and again, like, what do I enjoy doing? What kind of challenges do I like solving? And that led me down the path to where I thought someday maybe I want to leave the corporate world and go into an independent consulting role and work with a lot of other cool companies on a lot of other cool challenges or problems that they're having. So I was able to take the skills that I learned in the corporate world and hang up my own shingle, start a small business as an independent consultant. And then from there, more work kept coming in. Had to hire our first employee, had to hire our second, third, fourth, fifth employee. And then 6 years ago now, Brian and I had two separate companies that we merged together to form Workshop Digital. So now we're approaching 30 people and loving every minute of it. It's fun to have a partner in business too, if that's something that you're interested in. But for me, my path was not linear. I did not take a direct path to becoming self-employed. I don't think most people do, although the media would have you believe otherwise. So it's okay to be goofy, to be yourself, to be fun. You don't have to be super buttoned up and polished. Everybody has their own personality, and you're going to do your best work when that shines through in your products or services. So you don't have to be this goofy if you don't want to, but just be yourself. So what am I doing here at Workshop Digital? My job is VP of Strategy, which it's a title. Titles don't mean a whole lot in relation to the actual work that we do. But really what it means is my job is to get out and speak to different groups of people, students in this case, and schools and educators, digital marketing friends and colleagues at conferences like you see on this screen. We do a lot of webinars, we do a lot of podcasts, we do a lot of this stuff, and my job is to help get the Workshop Digital name out there and share the good stories that our teams are creating every day, the results that we're getting for our clients, the work we're doing, how we do the work, how we build our business and our culture. And if we're doing all of that stuff right internally, then it's easy to go out into the communities that we're in and share this story to help other people learn, viable career paths, come work for us, come work with us. And all of this kind of feeds the bigger purpose of building a better agency. So my job is just simply to do this kind of stuff. And I would do it all day long. If JA would just put me on live streaming video 8 hours a day, we could just roll with it. So what do we actually do? What does Workshop do? We're a digital marketing agency, as I said. I could walk you through our 8-step process that gets a client from a discovery meeting all the way into ongoing implementation and optimization. It's not what we're here for today. It's not a technical discussion at all. But as a digital marketing agency, it's easy enough to point out the things that we do for our clients all roll up under digital marketing proper, right? Digital marketing is a big term. It means a lot of things, everything from Instagram and influencer marketing to banner ads and YouTube marketing, Facebook ads, search ads, anything digital, right? Email marketing, all of that is forms of digital marketing. Our 3 specialties, the areas that we focus on the most, and the most level of detail we're going to get into today about the actual nuts and bolts of a digital marketing agency like ours. The 3 legs on our stool are search engine optimization, pay-per-click advertising, and website analytics. And simply what those mean, and I'll show you examples in a second. That means our focus, our niche within digital marketing is more on the search engine side. So think Google and Yahoo and Bing. Those are the main search engines people know, but also YouTube. YouTube is the 2nd largest search engine in the world, right behind Google, which I know you all are familiar with YouTube, but I don't know that a lot of people actually consider it to be a search engine, but it is. So we are involved anywhere there's a search functionality, whether it's a search engine, a video search engine, a social search engine, product search engine. We're there helping our clients get more visibility for their products and services. So we can do that through paid advertising. We can do it through website optimization. And then we measure everything on the back end. We actually can tell them what's working and what's not. And of course, within each of these disciplines, there are subspecialties. I'm not going to get into all of this, but we run the gamut from very technical search engine optimization, coding, and that kind of stuff, all the way to social media ads on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and Reddit and LinkedIn and someday maybe TikTok. I don't know. We're not the ones mucking up your TikTok streams these days because I'm not even on TikTok. I got to draw the line somewhere. All right. So that's our core services. We kind of do it all, but it's the nerdier side of digital marketing that we love. Give you a quick example of what these things are, just as you're out in the world, kind of navigating the digital environment. Everybody knows Google and what a Google search results page looks like. Our version of search engine optimization is designed to help our clients' websites rise up higher on Google search results pages. So, right, not necessarily the top position on google.com, but sometimes that's a shopping result. Sometimes it's a video result or local maps. All of those are different types of search engine optimization that are going to help a website or a company get more visibility in different types of search engines. So just think about that, optimizing for search engines. Pay-per-click advertising is just digital advertising. It's called pay-per-click because typically we're paying Google or Facebook or Instagram every time someone actually clicks on our ad to come to a client's website. And you're all familiar with ads online too, right? These are search ads. So this is kind of our bread and butter, but there are ads in your video streams, there's ads on your social networks. All of them work more or less the same way. We're able to target different groups of customers, not individually, not by name or by IP address, but by your behaviors and your habits and your patterns online and what you might be interested in, to show you products or services that might be relevant. And while it sounds kind of creepy and you can put your tinfoil hat on, like, I don't care who you are individually when I'm marketing to you. I care about you as people, but I'm not trying to reach out to Charlotte or Cynthia or Kim with ads specifically to them, but I do care that they're interested in nonprofits and philanthropy and pets and social happenings around Richmond. So I can use that to target them with the right ads as they're browsing or as they need something. Or in this case, Charlotte's AC goes out at home and she goes on to look for HVAC repair in Richmond. I want my client Woodfin to show up at the top of the list when she's looking at different ways to get her air conditioning fixed now that it's getting hot out. And then finally, website analytics. This is the kind of the more data-driven, nerdier part of the business. This is simply helping explain to our clients what's happening on their websites or within their apps and which of their marketing channels are working and driving the best customers and which ones are not. So we can do more of the stuff that's working and less of the stuff that's not. So we get to play around with a lot of data and understand user behavior and consumers and how they shop and how they browse and when they're coming to our sites and where they're coming from and where they leave to, what they buy or what they don't buy. And all of this is called analytics. And analytics, if there's nothing else that you leave with today, just know the term analytics because analytics is everywhere. Every business, every company, every product, every service, no matter how technical or basic it is being driven by analytics or numbers and data these days. So it doesn't matter if you get into website analytics, right, and understanding website behaviors and customer journeys and all that kind of stuff. Just know that whatever you get into is going to be heavily influenced by the data behind it, whether it's retail or a service business or a product-based business. There's a lot of data there, and those that learn how to understand and interpret and read the data and tell stories with the data are going to have an easier time navigating a technical workforce ahead. Right, that's where things are going. Is data is the common currency. So analytics is the fun part for me that speaks to kind of like that nerdy side of, I don't know, it's the right brain or the left brain, whatever side of your brain it is that processes numbers and stuff. So those of you that are naturally gravitating towards that kind of stuff, look into some analytics options and find ways to get involved, maybe with a family or friend that has a website with Google Analytics installed, and maybe they can let you get some access to the data and you can play around and find something interesting. So what does it look like? That's what we do. What does our day-to-day look like? You can see the office behind me. I'll show you a couple other examples of what it looks like when there's people in here. You saw how it started. This is how it's going. We're all virtual now. We're in Zoom world or Google Meet world or whatever platform of choice you want to use. But this is how I see my team and our teams most often these days. And frankly, it sucks. I hate it. I want everybody to be back in the office, but I know that's not the world that we're coming back to. So for now, it looks kind of like the way things used to be, very collaborative. Our office was very friendly. People were in the office more or less, 4 to 5 days a week. We had most of our teams here in Richmond, so we could actually get together and hang out face to face and just be goofy. So our day-to-day is very collaborative, focused, finding that time to focus and actually dig into the work and get it done has always been hard to do. It's even harder to do now when we have more distractions working from home. But I'm sure you guys have seen the same thing. Sometimes you have to just buckle down, get in the zone or get in the flow and get your work done. So we try to create environments at the office, meeting rooms and like hangout spaces. The area I'm in right now is like a little library. You can't see it, but there's bookshelves and a whiteboard wall and everything else where you can just kind of like plop down, pretend you're at a Starbucks and get your stuff done. And client relations. So client relations for us, our customers, our clients, their businesses, Richmond across the country. We work with small to medium businesses here in Richmond, and we work with some of the world's largest brands, like maybe the third largest social network out on the West Coast. Can't say who they are, but they're avatars, maybe a little blue bird. We work with big financial firms. We work with a professional sports association that represents professional athletes and runs tournaments and competitions online that you probably, or on all over the world that you probably see every weekend on TV. So we get to do it all. We get to work with a lot of cool industries and solve a lot of cool challenges, which is the reason I got into the business in the first place. But a heavy dose of what we do is interfacing and working directly with our clients. So much so that it's about half of what we do, right? As we kind of figure out where we're spending our time and our energy, half of our time typically is spent actually talking with our customers and learning about their businesses and helping them relate better to their customers. So whether you are in a digital marketing agency like Workshop, or you're working in a retail environment or other professional environment or a service-based business, you're going to have customers or stakeholders. A stakeholder is just a fancy word for like an internal customer. It could be your boss's boss, a different department within your company. All of those kind of fall under this umbrella of client relations. You got to make sure you're taking care of your customers. They're the ones that pay the bills, right? And so we spend a lot of time and invest a lot of energy in training our teams and practicing running meetings and how to make sure that we're using everybody's time efficiently and getting done what we need to get done. So client relations is a big part of that. And I don't want to make it sound like we only focus on spreadsheets and charts and graphs and Google and YouTube and everything else. We do our best work when we're actually sitting down across the table or virtually these days with our clients and understanding them as people and understanding their customers. But now it's a fairly lonely space. We're one of the unfortunate companies with a bad sense of timing that built out an office, signed a lease a year ago, January of 2020, for this giant space, 10,000 square feet, some of which you can see behind me. And it's just sad. I just wish everybody was back here. We're trying to figure out when to get everybody back to the office. So, joking, it's a lonely spot. Oh, and in fact, you can see that little blue corner with the table on the right side there, all the way in the back with the 3 hanging lights. I'm standing under that right now. So looking back, you can see where that camera was. We have a lot of space here. Like we have a cafe space where nobody can come and eat. We have a reception area that clients can't come in and visit us. And we have some cool murals on the wall done by Hamilton Glass, who's a Richmond muralist that does a lot of social and social injustice murals around town. Like we have an awesome space, and I'm just sad that nobody can come hang out yet, but soon. But we're gonna get there. But the upside is COVID has allowed us to hire new people across the country. So before, we were a Richmond-based company. We had, at any one time, maybe 1 to 2 employees elsewhere in the United States. Now we've got almost a third of our company is remote. And that's partly out of necessity, but partly out of the fact that nobody wants to pick up and move across country right now, or hasn't for the last year. So it's forced us to actually open our minds and figure out a way to do our work a little bit more collaboratively from a distance. So this is this is current as of like 2 months ago. We've since added people in Tennessee. We hired 1 more in San Diego. We've got like about 10 employees remote now, most of which I've never met in person, which is also an odd feeling. But it's forced us to kind of get into this mindset of like finding the best people wherever they are. And it's important to you guys because as you start to explore career paths someday, after school and whatever your next chapter looks like, at some point you may have the option to work remotely for companies that aren't necessarily based in your hometown, or may not even have a physical office to begin with. That's how quickly the world has changed in the last year. So you'll have opportunities that a lot of us haven't had to do remote work and to join a company where you may or may not ever actually meet the people you're working with, or may only meet them a couple times a year. So that's a good thing and a bad thing. And when I look at it from your perspective, one, it's going to give you a lot more options. So you can, in theory, go to work for any company anywhere. You can live where you want. There are some people that are really taking advantage of that, like Brian, my co-founder, actually moved from Richmond about 3 weeks after COVID hit. He's like, yep, see ya. And he moved down to the river. And so he lives about an hour and a half east near the water. And that's where he and his wife have always wanted to settle down. And they said, we're taking the chance. We're going to do it. And I know a lot of people that have moved around to get that lifestyle they want so they can blend the work and the personal. And I think you'll have a lot of those options as well. The flip side of that coin, though, is it sounds great, but there's a lot of missed opportunities sometimes with building personal relationships with your teams or your clients. And training and onboarding is going to be a little bit more challenging, especially as you're entering companies as an entry-level hire or a new hire, you're joining a team and a company and you're expected to learn what they do and how they do it. The best way to learn that in our experience has been to be around people that are already doing it at a high level. And that's been really difficult with remote employees. So that's what we're trying to figure out now, is how to recreate that onboarding experience and all the training that we provide when we can't sit down across the table from you or look over your shoulder, or have you look over our shoulder as we're doing the work. So just know that that is a challenge, but it's also an opportunity where you can live in awesome San Diego, where Larissa does right now, and Leah, who just joined us, and still work for a Richmond-based company. The other cool thing is the compensation playing field is being really leveled. We were a Richmond company. Now we're essentially a national company. We could afford until a year ago to pay Richmond salaries, which the cost of living here is significantly lower than it is in a place like San Diego. We've had to make a lot of adjustments to how we attract and recruit and hire our teams to make sure that we're competitive in the workplace or in the environment. So if somebody in San Diego who's a rock star top talent like Larissa or Leah or Jenny in Minnesota or any of the others that you see here, we've got to pay out of market rates, which is a win for our employees. And it's good for us as a company because now we can pull in the best talent from anywhere in the country. But just know that that whole, like, how much do I make and where can I live question is still being settled by a lot of companies. So it's going to look a lot different in the next few years, but it's an interesting time for sure, because you can work for a California company without having to pay California real estate prices, but still potentially make a California salary. So something to consider. All right, so the first 90 days at Workshop Digital, I want to give you a taste of what it's like to actually work here. So for this next little segment, we're going to pretend like you've just been hired, and boy, are we glad you're here, because according to LinkedIn and all the job postings that get posted on LinkedIn every year, of which there are tens of millions, digital marketing is in the top 10 most competitive or most in-demand jobs. So there were over 1.5 million job postings on LinkedIn just last year in the middle of a pandemic, which is kind of crazy. And that's quite a large number of open positions that have not yet been filled. There's a shortage of digital marketers today. And if you were to go into any one of these fields, software development, sales, customer service, wherever you feel like you might fit in, just know that there are some industries that are so dramatically understaffed right now that you have a lot of flexibility in where you work, who you work for. There's a lot of potential out there. So we're glad that you're here, because that means you trust us. You're willing to take a risk coming to work for a company full of people you may or may not have ever met. But it's a very in-demand market right now, and even our company is having challenges recruiting and hiring people all over the country. So meet Abby. Abby is our recruiter or talent acquisition lead. She is the one that you've been working with the most during your interview process. Chances are she found you. She scheduled and ran your initial interview to see if you're a good fit and if we're a good fit for you, see if there's worth having further conversations. And then her job is to make sure you're set up to succeed on the first day of your job here, right? She gets you to the point where she can then introduce you and hand you off to your manager. And we can be pretty assured that you have a reasonable expectation of what it's like to work at Workshop. So Abby is our talent acquisition lead. Most companies that are 20 to 30 people and larger may have some sort of recruiter or HR person that's going to be in a similar role. My advice to you is get to know that person, treat them with respect, be prompt with your responses, be courteous, be thoughtful and thorough, because even though they're not going to be managing you directly someday, they're the person that is deciding whether or not you're even a good fit for the company, and whether or not they want to introduce you to who your future manager would be. So, don't think of HR and recruiters as, just like gatekeepers or somebody you have to get through or convince or wow. Like, they're critical to our success. So we invest a lot of time and energy to make sure Abby knows exactly what we're looking for. And she's really, really good at, selling Workshop to potential employees, and also making sure that it's going to be a good fit for us when we bring somebody on board, so they can fit into our culture, they can learn quickly and get up to speed. So just be aware that, they don't get a lot of attention. They don't get a lot of public praise, but every company has somebody that's doing this role, whether it's a dedicated HR or recruiter position or not. So don't skip that step. Now you can meet your team. Our team is about 30 people, as I said. We're distributed. We have teams that service all of our major services like the search engine optimization and the pay-per-click advertising and the analytics. But I put this in here so you know that every company that you're going to talk to at some point and every role you're going to potentially explore, interview for, get hired for, is going to have a title associated with it, right? A job title. And it could be, in our world, it's an analyst or a senior analyst or a team lead or a manager or director or VP. It's going to be different. Those titles are going to be different across any company that you go look for. So don't focus so much on title. Try to figure out what the purpose of each role is, right? And what that role, that function in the company contributes to the company's overall success. And that's really where you want to dial in and figure out, is this something where I can actually have a say in how well this company does or how well the clients do? That may not always be indicated by the title itself. So look beyond title when you're thinking about jobs or roles that you may want to have in the future, because titles come and titles go. And especially in a small company, we're all wearing a lot of hats. So we all have, one title, but we all do multiple things. We step in and we step up when we need to get stuff done. So once you get hired, you're going to have a job description, right? So more important than the title, like I said, is the purpose, the function, and the responsibilities for a role. So most companies are going to provide you some sort of job description, right? It could just be like the couple paragraphs they slap online, but hopefully, and as you're kind of exploring career paths, you're able to gather different job descriptions and compare them to see how do different companies actually set you up to succeed. And this is a big differentiator, something we've invested a lot of time in that I feel like you should know about and be prepared to ask about when you go interview anywhere, is trying to figure out, what makes this company successful, what makes this role successful, how does this role contribute to the overall success of the company or the organization and our clients or customers. And that's really going to give you the best idea of like what they really want from you, right? So job descriptions are usually kind of generic and boilerplate, but you can always ask questions, right? So make sure that you're digging into either with an Abby or a hiring manager, the actual role and how it fits into the company. And if you want bonus points, ask for the job descriptions of the roles above you too that you aspire to grow into someday, so you know what's expected of them. That gives you an idea of what boxes you need to be checking, not necessarily today, but in the future, so you can set a chart or set a course and start working towards that. Also here at Workshop, I know it seems like overkill, but I promise you we're getting to the end. We give every new employee a 90-day success plan. So we feel like the typical onboarding experience for a new hire, especially in a knowledge-based company like ours, is like, hey, welcome to day one. Here's your computer. Here's your team. Here are your clients, and go. That's not enough, right? We do a lot of we spend a lot of time training and making sure that you have an idea and expectation of what you can expect from us and what we can expect from you over the first 90 days. So in our world, this is like, getting to know the right people, sitting in certain meetings to get context for how we run things, resources and links to things that you need to know about or may have questions about, so you can go find them and do the research on your own without necessarily having to feel like you're bugging somebody all the time, or not feeling like you're just sitting there kind of idle waiting for someone to tell you what to do. So we don't like that. Our new hires definitely don't like sitting around feeling unproductive. So it's a good thing for you to ask at any company you're going to work for, like, what's expected of me in 90 days, and how can I be successful? So hopefully there's some sort of list like this. If not, make your own. Annually, we do an individual development plan. So, this is kind of something we borrowed from other types of companies, but this is a way for you as a new employee to set your goals personally and professionally for the year. So typically we do it on a calendar year basis. And it's asking yourself, what do you want to accomplish this year? And then how do we break that down into manageable steps? And then how can we track progress towards those goals quarterly? So this is a big exercise that we go through every year, and it forces everybody to kind of take a step back and challenge some of their own assumptions and look for new opportunities to grow personally and professionally. And it's fun, it's challenging, but it's extremely important. Not every company does this. It's not something you have to do formally within a company or wait for them to do it for you. It's something you can do on your own, right? You can bring your own plan. You can work with your manager if they're willing to coach you and mentor you through that. And sometimes you just have to figure out a way to do it on your own. And that's okay. At least you've got a plan and you're working towards it and you can hold yourself accountable. Then every quarter, as I said, we do check in on progress. Some companies call them performance reviews or annual reviews. We do it quarterly and we call them check-ins. So it's more of a conversation with you and your manager to say, how am I doing? Where am I doing well? What can I continue to work on? How am I good? How am I doing towards my goals? And then what else do I need to accomplish? And so we have each employee answer those questions for him or herself, and we have the managers answer those questions for all their employees. And then they share those responses and have a conversation about it. So there's no surprises. Everybody gets a say in that conversation. And for us, it's a really healthy, helpful way to make sure everybody's on the same page and know what's expected of them without that fear and intimidation of, I've got my performance review. I really better work hard for these next 2 weeks and show them that I'm really committed, right? Doing it more often, quarterly for us is the right cadence, so that it's not a once a year kind of big deal. It's low pressure, ongoing conversations with your manager. And yes, I do feel I feel important that it's not all roses. Not everybody does well. Some people don't live up to the expectations, and sometimes the company doesn't live up to their expectations. So people do leave companies like ours. People leave companies all the time. And sometimes companies have to separate employees that aren't on the same page or can't get on the same page. So the downside of all this is by setting these expectations and measuring progress towards goals, if someone's not meeting the bar or the expectations, after a couple conversations with their manager and a plan to get back on track, if we're still not on the same page, sometimes it's a better fit for the person or the company if we separate. And that can mean somebody leaving the company on their own. That can mean, somebody getting fired. And it's a scary word. Sometimes it's intimidating. But as soon as you realize it does happen and there's a reason behind it, usually it's less scary and you're able to figure out ways to avoid it, or at least make sure that you don't have any surprises in your future. But I wanted to get that out there because it is a reality.
Yeah, and Andrew, not to cut you off, but
Yeah.
I wanted to see if we could open up the floor for some Q&A, because I know that some of the students were given some questions, and I'm sure you've shared so much great advice and tips, and I'd love to see if anyone has any questions, just open up the floor for that. So feel free you can hop on and come on camera if you want. You can type them in the chat. Anything works. We'd love to hear what you all have to ask, and Andrew is such a great resource and would be able to answer them.
Yep, and I can't see the chat. So Charlotte, if you see something come through,
okay. Yep.
Feel free to stop me.
Don't be shy.
While those are, if y'all are thinking of those, it's okay to be first. Feel free to ask, please. I'm an open book.
We have a question. How old are most of your employees?
I don't know the average age. I'd have to guess it's about 26 to 30. We used to be a lot younger. As a small company for a long time, we could only afford to hire people right out of college, and sometimes without college degrees. Increasingly people without college degrees, because there's no degree in the world that teaches you to do what we do. But as we hire more experienced and more tenured employees from across the country, they tend to have 5 to 10 years of experience under their belt, and so that brings our average age up. But in our world, there's a trade-off. You hire someone that's 26, 28, 30, they're going to be more experienced and therefore more expensive and more in demand than someone that's 21, 22 coming out of college, or 28 switching careers, or even 19, 20 that has a good sense of what they want to do with their life and doesn't think that 4-year college is necessarily for them at this point. We're able to hire in those younger, less experienced folks and spend 3 to 6 months training them, and then they're ready to take on client work. So that helps keep our pipeline full. It helps give us new opportunities to bring in new, fresh perspectives into the company. And a lot of times we find that the younger, more tech savvy folks have a good grasp of what's already going on online. Right? That doesn't exactly translate or perfectly translate to success in digital marketing, but just understanding how the world works now digitally is a huge advantage that you guys have in trying to figure out a career in digital marketing. So good question.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we have another one. What is your biggest piece of advice for someone who is considering becoming an entrepreneur?
Aha. Man, it's like you read my mind. All right. I'm going to answer that. Guys, here it is. Here's the real world stuff that people aren't going to tell you in high school, right? Or you don't figure out till later in your career. So best piece of advice, I can give you 3 or 4, I think. And then obviously, hopefully we'll have time for other questions. One, college majors don't matter. Anything that we teach you, anything you're going to learn and need to be successful in digital marketing is going to be learned on the job. So in our field, it's not that it's so new that colleges haven't had a chance to catch up. It's just that it changes so quickly. So by the time a college or technical school or any sort of graduate level work catches up to where the industry is, it's already obsolete. So this was me back in 2003, graduating from U of R with degrees in computer science and Spanish, and I don't use either of them. So don't worry so much about what you're going to major in college. You can learn a lot about digital marketing on your own for essentially for free online. And you'll be more qualified than any candidate that goes through a traditional marketing program. Not to say that college degrees are bad or college majors are bad or marketing programs are bad, just that they don't teach what we do. So we look for skills, the hard skills and the soft skills, the client relations, the communication, the ambition, the curiosity, more than we look at what degree you have or don't have. Machines are quickly changing our industry. So artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, those are all terms that you've heard. That's impacting our business. We deal with a lot of data, and machines are better at dealing with a lot of data than humans are. They can do it faster. They don't sleep. But what machines are bad at doing is building a strategy or doing anything creative, right? So we look at strategy and creative as the last two dominoes to fall when the machines inevitably take our jobs. So another piece of advice is don't be afraid of artificial intelligence. Learn about it. You don't have to learn how to program it or code it. Best advice I can give you there is learn what artificial intelligence actually is. There's a lot of hype out there, and what it isn't, right? What it can do and what it can't do. And once you realize artificial intelligence and machine learning are just fancy ways of saying computers take really, really good guesses about what could happen in the future, that's all it is. You'll realize you can use those machines to help you be more efficient or effective at your job without fearing that they're going to come take your job. Work-life balance, again, something most people don't talk about, right? And yet it's usually something you have to figure out on your own as you get into your career. And by the time you realize that there's an imbalance in your work and your personal life, it's already too late. I love this quote by Jack Welch. People talk about work-life balance. It's an overused phrase. He says there's no such thing as work-life balance. There are work-life choices, and we have to make them. And then those choices, like everything else, have consequences. So I think about it as I don't have some expectation that I'm going to work X hours a week or X hours per day. I know that at workshop, when people need to take time off to go to the doctor or having a rough day or go get a vaccine or whatever it is they need to do, they're free to take off paid time off. We call it flexible PTO, and we don't have limits on it. We want people to have lives, and we want people to be able to decide for themselves when are they most productive, where are they most productive, and that's increasingly common in the working world today. But you do have to go out and find a place that's going to give you that flexibility if that's what you're looking for. Other companies will grind you 40, 60, 70 hours a week, and that notion of work-life balance is too often an afterthought. So you got to take ownership of that. And finally, it's okay to take risks, right? As long as you're learning something useful. One of our core values here is we're eager to learn and willing to be wrong. And so, when I let my 2-year-old start to cook eggs on an open flame under adult supervision, I was like, all right, this could go sideways really quickly. But pretty quickly also figured out that with a little bit of supervision and a little bit of risk, the worst that could happen is we either get some spilled eggs or maybe a slight little burn. It happens. But more often than not, you actually learn something useful that can apply to the future. So cooking eggs turns into now I can get lasagna and I can get brownies, and my kids are actually they're not going to starve if one of us isn't there to fix dinner for them. So risk and reward, right? But it's okay to take risks in your career or in your job. Just know that the end goal is to learn something new. And that was it. That was my best advice. That's, I can talk all day about digital marketing and the technical stuff, but just go out and be yourself and have fun and take ownership of your career. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and you're going to do just fine.
Awesome. That's such great advice. And one last question we have is, are there any classes in high school or college that you do feel helped you prepare for what you do now?
Some basic marketing classes are going to be helpful. Anything dealing with data is going to be helpful. So you just get comfortable understanding different types of data sets. It doesn't have to be marketing data, but there are a lot of schools now that are offering, statistics classes, for example. There's a lot of free courses online, like through the Khan Academy and through codeacademy.org and Hour of Code. You can go learn a lot of this stuff on your own now, on your own time. So basic math, statistics, probability, intro marketing level stuff. Those are all kind of good primers. And then specifically for the skills that we hire and train for, Google Ads and Facebook ads and Twitter ads all have their own online curriculum, their own certification courses that are all free. So all you have to do is go Google, Google Ads certification. And one of the first things that'll show up is Google's actual official training program that's mainly video based, that walks you through all the basics of how to run a Google Ads campaign. And you can do the same thing on Facebook ads and learn a ton in a relatively short amount of time about how this stuff works, so that when you do go look for those internships or opportunities or decide what career path you want to go down, you're going to be able to say, I learned this on my own, and here's how I think I can bring this to your company. So a lot of what we do is self-taught, but there's two types of people we find: the two that are sitting there waiting to be taught, and the others that are sitting there like taking the initiative and going out on their own and learning it, knowing they're not going to learn everything, but then using that as a jumping off point to understand and be taught the rest of it.
Awesome. Great. Well, if we don't have any other questions, on behalf of JA, thank you to all the students and teachers that joined us today. We hope that you learned a lot. I know I did. And a huge, huge thank you to Andrew Miller at Workshop Digital for hosting this event and sharing all your knowledge and tips. We loved all the funny photos, and you're just so great at explaining, and kind of a fresh and nice approach to the working environment and work-life balance. And I always find him very refreshing. So I hope that you did as well. So thank you guys again for joining us, and we hope you tune in for the next JA Job Shadow in our series. Coming up, we have one with Investment Money Guide, which is a tech and financial planning company, on April 29th at 11 o'clock. And then the following week, we have an event with the Charlottesville Police Department featuring a forensic specialist on May 4th at 11. So please join us if you're interested. And again, thank you so much to all the students and teachers. Thank you to Andrew, and hope you have a great rest of the afternoon.
Thank you all.
Thank you.